Okay, we're gonna try again. It's not a morning unless you have a technical difficulty, right? We're used to these technical glitches these days. They're par for course. All right, and there she is. Let's try this again. I see Katie's there. See if the internet is our friend today. As she joins us this morning. Oh, we did it. Good morning. How are you?
Morning. I'm good. Apparently, I need to update my Instagram.
I know. I thought the phone magic did that automatically and just
I thought so too. My phone definitely recently updated and things are in different places. So
yeah. I mean, it's scary. Like some days I open my phone and it's got like all these things happening. I'm like, I didn't do that. I don't know what is going on in my phone. Like,
that's not where I left that app. That's in a different spot. I keep clicking.
Yeah, for sure. So how are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm good. I'm good. I wanted to just learn more about your studio and what it's been like. I mean, I know owning a yoga studio is never, I don't want to say an easy thing, but it's always got a lot of challenges. Let's put it that way, right? And I bet even this last week, right? I mean, it's constantly changing. What has it been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, running a yoga studio is always a bit unpredictable. High highs and low lows, kind of. And where my studio is in Millerton, New York, is a fairly rural area with a lot of weekenders that come up. And so the pandemic has sort of changed that in theory. Like there are a lot more people around. But because of the pandemic, we're not really seeing what that actually looks like just yet. We are a fully vaccinated yoga studio, so I know that that's put some of our students' minds in a bit more of an ease, more at ease and feeling more safe. And so we are starting to see return of students to and the new students. But now people are scared about Omicron, and I don't know how that's going to affect us. And so it definitely has been a really, really tough last 2 years, just living in this unknown and kind of feeling like at any moment you might have to jump ship.
Yeah. And how long has your studio been open?
We opened in 2017, summer of 2017.
Okay. Yeah. So at least you had a few years under your belt before the world went a little more haywire than normal.
Yeah, we had about, 2 full years.
Yeah.
before it went crazy, which is tough because any small business, you're just getting started at 2 years, and they say that you need at least 5, and before you start to really kind of level out and see how you're doing. So we kind of lost that. Like we had all of our startup costs and we were sort of getting there, and then then we went through the pandemic. But we've pivoted, and we have a great online studio as well as virtual studio, as well as our in-person classes starting to pick back up. So we made the best of it, and I tried to stay very positive.
Oh, let's see the puppy.
2 puppies.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Sorry. They busted in here.
They're like, what's mom doing? She's not paying attention. I know. Mine is actually at my mom's house right now in the mornings. Like he stays over there because I can't get anything done. He's like all over the place. All that energy. Do they go to the studio with you, the pups?
No, they're too crazy. They would just all around.
So I'm so curious, what did you do before you owned the yoga studio? Did you have a previous career, or was it always yoga for you?
So I worked for a health supplement company for 4 years in their marketing department. Started in their customer service and then moved on to marketing. And I was doing my yoga training, my 200-hour while I was there still. And then what actually led me to opening my yoga studio was a personal trauma. So I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and the company that I was working for had moved, and it was going to be like a 3-hour commute every day to work, and working remotely was not an option at that time.
Yeah.
So I had actually left that job and then, experienced this very traumatic event. And I was like, I can't be here. I need to go somewhere. I need to dive deeper into my yoga studies. Like, this is how I'm going to heal. So I went to India and did my 300-hour.
Wow.
Yeah. And kind of came back like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know that I'm just going to do what makes me happy. And it just kind of found me, a friend was like, you want to rent this yoga studio? And I'm like, oh, it's an existing yoga studio? She's like, no, it's just a room that I think would be a good yoga studio. And I looked at it, and the floors were totally covered in paper, and I'm like, let me peek under this paper. Oh, beautiful hardwood floors. Okay, I'm sold.
Nice.
So it happened very randomly and lucky. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing too. And it seems like that's always how it happens, and it's like, it's interesting now when you hear about what's going on with people. I think especially in the corporate world, it's this, they call it the great resignation. And a lot of people are going through kind of like what you went through in terms of like, I'm not happy. What can I do now that's going to make me happy? And it's like a global thing that's happening now. And it's so interesting to see people kind of like what yoga studio owners and I think any small business, that's how you're sort of motivated. It's like, this is what makes me happy. And it's not really a money motivation, especially I think with wellness, there's very little like, I'm going to get rich on this yoga studio. It's more like, I can't imagine doing anything else. It's the thing that makes me so happy.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And I think that in one of my trainings in India, my teacher said, nobody comes to yoga because they haven't suffered. That always stuck with me, because I think that that's absolutely true. Like, we come to yoga because we want to learn how to suffer less or suffer better, and that was it for me, for sure. It was just like, I remember my sister being like, but what are you going to do for money? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I will figure that part out. The money will come. I'm just not going to pretend anymore, to be happy doing something that I'm not happy doing. So
it's such a leap of faith. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm grateful for that experience of working for a health supplement company, and how that helped me grow my marketing skills and enhance my nutritional knowledge and stuff like that. So I had actually studied animal science in college. Funny.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And my focus was on dog training. And you would be surprised how parallel it is with teaching yoga.
Oh my God. Now, you shouldn't have told me that, because I need a dog trainer right now. And I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing.
I mean, my dog busted in on us. So they're not that well trained.
So how did you come up with a name for Moonwake? How did that come about? Like, that's one of the hardest things, isn't it? Like, what do you name something? It's so like monumental.
Yeah, well, actually my studio used to be called Booty Tribe. And for a number of reasons, that name just wasn't really speaking to me, wasn't really working for me. Kind of how I said, like, the trauma brought me to the studio in the first place, like the trauma of the pandemic, and all the things that were going on in the world. Now you'd like to leave?
Of course.
Led me to just realize, like, the name wasn't speaking to me anymore, and that it could be more personal, and perhaps, like, I don't know that it was causing any harm to use the word tribe, but it just started to kind of bug me, and the idea that it could be causing harm. So I sat with it for a long time. One of my friends, I don't know if she's watching, but she and I sat for like 4 hours one day, just jotting down ideas. I knew that I really wanted to incorporate astrology and tarot. That was stuff.
Mm.
Those were realms I was diving a little deeper into during the pandemic, and so I was trying to think of like what would work with yoga and what would work with those new elements and what was personal to me. And so we looked up lots of different names, and Moonwake I loved because it means the reflection of the moon on water.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and water being representative of our emotions, moon being representative of our emotions, like in a way, it sounds kind of cheesy, but like we're all kind of moonwakes. Like we're all a reflection of our emotions, and we're a reflection of the environment around us, and a reflection of what's going on in the moon. You know, like the moon definitely has a hold over our emotions. So there was that, and then in terms of the logo and the heron. In 2018, my mom passed away from an 8-year battle with Alzheimer's.
Oh, sorry.
And thank you. And the morning after she passed, it was November 1st, and I walked down to the lake across the street from where my parents lived, and there was this single heron, blue heron, just standing there. And it kind of looked over at me, and I just felt like my mom was there in that.
Oh, I have chills.
Yeah. So I played with all different kinds of names. You know, the use of purple in our marketing, our branding is largely because purple is the color for domestic violence awareness, and also crown chakra. So I was like purple heron, but you know, purple, like how can I incorporate all these things? And eventually settled on Moonwake, which we love, you know. A lot of consonants though. When you have a mask on and someone's like in your space, you're like
I love that. And it's a very soothing sounding name. Like even if you don't, I didn't know any of the things that you just said, you know, about the moon and the reflection, but it's just hearing the word Moonwake. It just, even if you don't know what it means, you're instantly like, like it's just a calming thing. And it has a very different energy from Booty Tribe, which is it's just a different feeling. So it's interesting that you changed in such a dramatic way. But it's names are hard, like coming up with that name, and then you never went back. You're like, this is it, Moonwake, I'm sold.
Once I commit to something, I really commit to it. I just feel I changed so much during this pandemic, and the studio we changed, so I wanted a name that represented that, and that was just a little more, you know, culturally aware. I think that we, especially as like white yoga studio owners, need to be aware of you know, how we are appropriating and to do it in a way that is respectful, as respectful as possibly be, and honoring the traditions that it's coming from. And so it just started to not meet the needs or meet the change that was happening.
I love that. How has your personal practice changed since the pandemic? Or, I mean, I know we're still in it, but have you noticed a shift in your personal meditation or movement? Or, I mean, I know in life, but in terms of your practice?
I've been really trying to make it more of a priority to personally go back to yoga classes and take yoga classes and teach less. I was teaching a lot during the pandemic, and you know, pre-pandemic I wasn't always talking and doing all of the yoga poses at the same time. I would walk around and give adjustments, and it was just so different. And wow, did I have to like train myself to be able to like do all the yoga poses again, and breathe and talk and wear your AirPods. And then I started coming back in studio. So you got people in studio, you've got people online. So it's hard. It's definitely hard. It was like completely learning something new, a new way of being present for people. And it feels disconnected in some ways, being online. I won't lie. I mean, I think everyone feels that way. I think some people love like taking classes online, and if you have an established practice, that's great.
Right.
But I think as a teacher, we are, you can't connect in the same way.
Yeah.
You know, you can't, however, I will say, I did an entire teacher training. Like I led an entire teacher training that was all online. And surprisingly, it's great for alignment. Like if looking at people on screen is really, really great for alignment cues. And I think that everyone who did that teacher training would say like they didn't miss out. Like that the education they received was wonderful, despite it being virtual. The one thing that they would say they missed out on is learning how to do adjustments and learning how to like have that present touch.
Right.
So it's changed in that way, in that like you've got to find that connection
right
for yourself. Your practice is so much more about like tuning into what do I need to hear and putting that out into the universe, and someone else probably needs to hear it too.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because you know, you're leading a teacher training that's online, and most likely those teachers will teach online too. So it's a whole different set of teachers that are getting trained now. So like the trainings that we all did many years ago, obviously they're applicable in many ways, but there is now this new set of tools that's very useful to and necessary, quite honestly, to learn online. So it's crazy how the landscape is going to change, and it just keeps
absolutely
changing.
I think it can be a really positive thing. I'm really hopeful that the Yoga Alliance adjusts their standards and allows studios and yoga schools to keep offering it online, because I think that's how we build equity in yoga. And that became like very, very obvious during the pandemic that, especially for us in this rural area, you know, you're not reaching people who don't look just like you. You know what I mean? You're the same people, and that's not building equity in yoga. And it's hold on, I gotta let this go. Say goodbye, Lucy. All right. Anyway, yeah. So I think that people were worried that the standards wouldn't be as good of an education, and I really think that that's a fear, and that we have to embrace this change and go all in. And that's how I am too. I know not everyone is that way, but I'm very much like, let's stop looking backwards, and here we are, and
especially after so long. I mean, it's almost 2 years now at this point. So I think, you know, in the beginning we were all like, oh, this is a temporary solution. But I mean, you're right. It's like, I read somewhere that like the US's approach, and like a lot of ways countries approach the virus, is some try to get rid of it and some try to learn to live with it. And I feel like that's kind of where we are now, is like, how do we work with and around this and still do the things that bring us joy, obviously in safer ways. But I think that's where we're all kind of coming to this realization. It's like, oh, this is a long haul thing for a lot of us. So just got to do the best. But it's true. I mean, I know a few people who've actually tried yoga for the first time because they could do it from their home, and they were intimidated to go into a yoga studio and felt uncomfortable. That the old, I'm not flexible, I can't do yoga, which I'm sure you've heard a million times, which when I hear makes me go, no, But now they have this opportunity because of the online practices to, if they want to turn their camera off, or just do an on-demand class. So,
I mean, I've heard people, like, they're joking, but they're serious. They're like, I don't have to worry about farting when I'm alone.
Exactly.
And I'm like, that's great.
Yeah, it's true.
Little things.
And it's so interesting too, as someone, who's practiced in studios for many, many years. And there was always, the yoga teacher was always this sort of, the yoga teacher, and then the pandemic hit, and you saw them with their dogs and with their children and with their baby. And it was so humanizing and beautiful to see this side of everyone. When we did the winter wellness event, I loved watching all the people, not that I was watching anyone, but seeing all the other people practicing and seeing their families and their kids. And it was so heartwarming to see that, which you wouldn't normally see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that we've all had to really learn that yoga is. It's not about going to a studio and being on your mat, that it's a lifestyle, and it's also it's something that you find within, and you have to tune out. I remember when I was in India, it was like 100 degrees and there were so many flies. I remember we were meditating and a fly literally landed on my eyelid, and I was like, there's no way that I can focus, like, that I can like release this and be present here.
Right.
And I'm wondering, like, now after going through this pandemic, would I be any better at dealing with the flies? And I think probably a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we've had to deal with dogs. We've had to deal with all the distractions of doing this from home.
I know. I mean, honestly, like when I have these conversations and I know we're doing this, I do have these moments every now and then. I'm like, oh my God, we're still in this. Like it's, and I forget, I get used to it. I go on my daily life, and then it's every now and then it just kind of like hits me, and I'm like, oh, right. I'll see someone with a mask on and I'm like, oh, that's right. It's still jarring to me, which is.
I agree. Yeah. Cause we also got some things back.
Right.
I think. And then, and then it's not gone. And you just keep thinking, like, you keep adapting and keep thinking it's going to get better, and keep kind of looking back at this before. And what I'm realizing, what I think we're all realizing, is that we're in grief right now. We are grieving the loss of our lives before, and that's okay. But I think we have to be really careful about not living in fear.
Yeah.
It is scary, but yeah, we can't live in that fear, because that's, fear is when violence occurs, and it's the opposite of ahimsa. So yeah.
What is your go-to when if you feel that fear rising or that uncertainty? How do you reground and regroup?
My favorite centering practice is one that, a lot of yoga teachers, I think, do at the beginning of class. It's probably a very common cue for a lot of people watching. It's just one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly. And I just close my eyes and do some deep belly breathing. And I'm big on affirmations as well. So really thinking about, like, what would be the most comforting thing to hear from someone else? And how can I turn that into an affirmation and say that to myself? And a common one when I'm feeling afraid during this pandemic is, I have all that I need.
I love that. I said the other day, I had a moment and I was surprised, and I almost felt guilty saying it, but I got a puppy during the pandemic, and I moved, and I've been lucky to be able to work from home. And I had a moment and I said, I'm actually happy. And it shocked me to say it. And I told a friend of mine about it. She said, well, why would that shock you? I said, I don't know, because there's so much horrible things happening right now. To have a moment where I'm just like, I'm happy, right? Might change in a minute. That's fine. But just acknowledging in that one moment that I was actually like content and happy. And it was so powerful to me. And I don't think I ever had that before. I think I understood it intellectually, but it really took 2 years of the pandemic to sort of drill that message home of like just being present. And it was crazy to me that it took so long, so many years to it just be like,
Yeah, I think in some ways, like, if there are any positives that came out of the pandemic, definitely realizing it doesn't take that much to make us happy. Like, we don't have to be chasing it.
Yeah.
It's right there in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when so much is taken away, or what we perceive as being taken away, and then you look around and see what you still have left, and you go, oh damn, I'm good, Yeah,
totally.
So what do you have coming up that you guys are offering that you're excited about? I saw you have a retreat coming up, right?
Yes, we have a retreat this summer, which I think people are maybe not quite ready to think about this summer. And with Omicron, they're kind of like, all right, let's see what happens. But it's happening. I mean, but I'm not postponing this again. And it's going to be great. So it's August 13th through the 20th. So it's a week-long retreat in the Tuscan hills, the Tuscan countryside. It's on an organic vineyard, and
oh my goodness.
2 meals a day included, different housing options available. You need to rent a car, so you fly in and you drive there. That could be a good opportunity for someone who also wants to like go travel around, travel before or travel after. And what else do I want to tell you about it? Oh yeah, there's cooking classes available.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, kayaking available. There's wine tour available. I think the beach is maybe about 45 minutes to an hour drive, so you could do a day trip to the beach. And there's a pool on site, and it just looks gorgeous. It's called Le Pianore. They are on Instagram, so you can check out their vineyard and get, amped.
Excited.
Yeah, and then also obviously on our website, we've got lots of information about it.
What made you choose Tuscany? I mean, you could have literally gone anywhere in the world. So why did you settle on, not that it's an amazing place. What made you choose that one?
I had done a retreat to Puerto Rico in, God, what year was that? Geez, 2019? And I wanted to do another retreat after that, and I was going to do another one to Puerto Rico that was kind of like adventure and a little more roughing it, right? It was like I hope to go back there someday. We never actually got to go, but it was it's essentially like this big concrete tent. And so I had that, and then I had the Italy idea, which was kind of accessible to everyone, like even if you weren't a yogi, right? Like you could come and you could enjoy this trip to Italy. Now that's kind of shifted, like 2 years later now I'm like, no, this is going to be a yoga retreat. We are going to do yoga once or twice a day, private yoga available, all these things. But I think it just, I was looking at through a service called Trip Tribe, this party kind of booking app service, and I was looking through all of their different options of places to go, and that one just spoke to me. It just seemed really magical, and I named the trip The Journey to the Magical Tuscan Countryside, and just the vibe that I got from looking at it. Felt like it would meet a lot of different people's needs, because you could choose your housing. You can have like your own cottage, or you can have a room as part of the main building, and would allow you to travel around Europe if you wanted to, or things like that. So I guess that's why. No, not like a particular reason. It just seemed like a magical place.
Well, Under the Tuscan Sun, have you seen that movie? It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, exactly. That movie also, I was like, it's going to be great. It's going to be Under the Tuscan Sun. Gorgeous. Everyone's going to love it.
They're going to love it.
It's funny because once I booked it, the trip filled up almost immediately. This was January and February of 2019.
Wow.
2020, rather.
Yeah.
So
my God, it was like right before.
So right before it booked up, everyone like it was pretty much full, full, almost 20 people, and then everything shut down, and so we postponed, and now we've got like a fresh start.
Right.
A fresh start. So I'm hoping that. I'm really hopeful for the world, and that we can get back to doing these things. I think we deserve it, and I think yoga retreats are a really magical experiences. They're a great way to connect with other people, but also have time to go do your own thing. And there's different people who go on the retreats. There are people who want to like do everything as a group.
Right.
There are people who want to go off and do their own thing. And so this retreat, I think it's a good combo of those things. Like we'll enjoy meals together. There'll be group yoga classes offered, but then there's lots of freedom to go explore during the day.
Yeah. And honestly, I've been on quite a few yoga retreats back in the day, back before the pandemic. And I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that was a terrible yoga retreat. I mean, it's kind of hard to like go somewhere beautiful. And even if you don't do yoga, you know, just enjoy being with people and hanging out. Like I've been on retreats where people don't even do the yoga, you know, they just want to hang out and have good food and, you know, lay by the sun, and that's great. You know, it's a win-win situation, quite honestly. Well, thank you so much, Katie. It's been wonderful chatting with you, and I'm so happy honestly, like your doors are still open, and kudos to you you're on 3 years now. 3 years, 4 years? You've been open.
Yeah, 4 years, half years.
Yeah.
And we're starting to add more classes, you know, slowly but surely. We have way back on how many classes you're offering, and now we're starting to see people be like, oh, I'll rejoin if you have more classes. So we're starting to add more classes, and we are offering Reiki now, and we're looking into offering massage. So we've got some exciting things happening in our shop, our apothecary.
I was going to say, your shop, you have all those beautiful balms and butters that you're always posting about.
Yes, balms and butters. And we're also fighting fast fashion, so we're selling vintage clothing and thrift clothing. So we've got like a thrift vintage corner, and then all of our potions and lotions as well. So
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So if you're in the Millerton area or you have access to a computer, you can check out Katie's studio, Moonwake. Thank you so much for joining us and for supporting the magazine. It's, you know, we're also a small business. We're volunteer run. I see Francis from our team is saying hi. And we only exist because people like you support what we do. So thank you for that. And it means the world to us. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Have a great holiday, and we look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much.
Bye. Take care.